Let's talk about the most controversial combination of words in our modern age. A phrase that is so scary that millions of white men aren't bold enough to touch it, not even with a 100-foot pole. Simply talking about this idea is now banned from discussion on Facebook and soon other platforms. White
Crime Think. You have been reported.
Am I even allowed to say it? Can I use this combination of two words in a sentence? I watch when this phrase is used to shut down debate, just like shouting racist. When said from one white person to another, it's unbelievable to watch them squirm like they caught some kind of a dirty disease, then deflecting and pointing at others. He's the witch. No, she's the witch. And when one has been labeled a WN, the earth around them moves and others flee the scene, scurrying to not associate, desperate to not be labeled one too. If I say the word, this video could be banned for promoting it. Stopping discussion of it is literally the biggest priority for tech companies and governments.
You have no place on our platforms.
And other tech companies, as we know, followed their lead.
You have no home here.
White. What does it evoke in your mind? I don't even have to say it. Anti-white propaganda has laid it all out for you. We've all seen the movies. Hollywood makes it all very clear. White equals the worst thing any white person can ever be. Even I haven't particularly liked the term because it evokes something from the 1970s Aryan nation run by meth heads and plenty of federal agents. But the definition of this word keeps changing to encompass more and more white people. If you as a white person are critical of mass immigration, diversity, and becoming a minority in your country, you are a white. Now it's even gone as far as the establishment calling Trump one too. Yet most of us know he cares for Israel far more than white Americans. In fact, he mentions every group of people except for white Americans. We can be thrilled about Black, Asian, or Hispanic unemployment rates, but never, ever mention white Americans as a group. It's only okay to mention them when you are shaming or blaming them as a group. What it means then is that it's dirty, immoral, and shameful for a white person to be concerned about other white people. That they are the equivalent of horrible criminals if they do care. You as a white person are not allowed to be a nationalist. You are not allowed to want your people to remain a majority because that is separatism. You are only allowed one option: multiculturalism and becoming a minority. But you must also gleefully accept ethnic and racially based nationalism and separatism for all other peoples on the planet. In fact, Trump is passing a law to make it illegal to be critical of Israeli nationalism. And the same people who support this law want to ban nationalism for white people. Understand that if you were white and you support the existence of white nations, countries where white people are the majority and have been since the start, if you support this anywhere on the planet, even little European countries like Estonia, you are promoting white. But the truth is, Europe and America from the founding was a white nation. It was a self-evident truth. They didn't need to call themselves WNs. Being a majority in the nation they founded was without question. In fact, America's immigration policy was so strict that in the 1920s, they even prohibited people from certain European nations. Yes, they only wanted specific Europeans in the country, not just any old white people. And you know what? Good for them, because they built the country, it's their choice. America was a white nation, a geographic space with a white majority from its inception. And before you bring up Indians, they weren't first in ancient America, and they were warring with each other. They were also very tribal and had their own unique nations and geographical spaces. So they were the equivalent of nationalists. But hey, would it have turned out differently if they opened their arms to diversity and multiculturalism and didn't fight it? Because that's what we're told to do. Same goes in Europe. Europeans don't need to call themselves white. Europe is white. Of course, Europhobic elites are trying to change all that. They just call themselves Swedish nationalists, or French, German, Hungarian nationalists, and so on. Europe is undeniably where white people live. It is their ancient mother continent. It consists of different nations of European people, but they are not a generic white blend. They are specific European ethnicities, and Europe is incredibly diverse. I get really tired of ignorant people saying how ethno-states don't exist. I've already made that video, but again, I will remind you people who do not travel. The entire planet consists of nations made up of specific, homogeneous, ethnic, racial, and tribal spaces. A nation is a people bound by history, culture, and ancestry. This is what makes up the world's true diversity. Through separation, they became their own unique thing. The word ethno-nationalism is new. Again, another self-evident no term. Japan, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, yeah, those are all ethno-states because they are inhabited by an ethnic group of people who the country is named after. It's been that way since the beginning of time. Specific tribes inhabiting a region together, an area all their own. But it's just now that certain peoples in the West are freaking out in a paranoid, delusional frenzy over it. Well, when they're white anyway. Sure, there's a few mixed multicultural nations now like Brazil, but throughout history, they've always failed, and they are struggling now. Homogeneous nations have no need to call themselves ethno-nationalists or separatists. And of course, they'd never call themselves brown nationalists, yellow nationalists, black nationalists, Israeli nationalists. No need for it. And we never hear those terms now, do we? In fact, this concept can be applied to Asians, Africans, and every other non-European group on planet Earth. The Chinese, for instance, don't need to say Asian nationalism or yellow nationalism, and certainly don't get called yellow supremacists or separatists for remaining a homogeneous Asian nation. And in America, you can march down the street shouting Black Power or Brown Power with other violent phrases and face zero consequences. In fact, we are told to facilitate it. Wakanda Forever, a Black Power, Black nationalist movie praised and promoted in America. White is a racial slur. It's a new phrase used to insult, to shame, to belittle, to dismiss. Oh, you're one of them, so I don't have to respond to the double standards they keep going on about. It's a derogatory phrase, a racial slur used against white people who don't hate themselves and who want to remain living the way their people have been for ages, with each other. But it's far more sinister than a racial slur, because we as a people are the only ones on the face of the earth who were guilted, shamed, blamed, overrun, censored, and silenced for defending ourselves from lies and propaganda. We are the only group told that we cannot exist as a majority in any space, anywhere on the face of the earth. Yes, there have always been some non-Europeans here and there in small number in some European nations. No one's fighting that. And most nationalists are okay with it in very small numbers if it doesn't upset the balance. That is the key. We're not talking about mandatory purity tests here, although Israel actually does have that. But the moment you speak out against globalist extremists who seem to think importing millions of needy foreigners endlessly to the point of making the native population a minority isn't extreme. But wait, I thought it was extreme, racist, and wrong for Europeans to have colonies in foreign lands. But nah, all that goes out the brain when non-Europeans are doing the colonizing. So colonizing in massive numbers in European countries, even small ones like Sweden, isn't extreme. But for a Swede to say, wait a minute, hold on, what is going on here? I don't like this, everything is changing, I want Sweden to be Swedish people, then it's alert the presses, we have an extremist and a white on the loose. This is how far gone the West is. Wanting to maintain the founding stock of a country is extremist and dangerous, but completely and utterly transforming a country with millions of people you don't know from opposing cultures, even when it's the cause of violence, that's being tolerant and the right thing to do. Yet those few Europeans scattered across Africa, they are invaders, and you won't get banned for calling Europeans invaders, rapists, and murderers. So it's wrong for them to have a country of their own because those are all now multicultural states for everyone. But then they also can't live overseas in foreign nations either. Well, where are they supposed to go exactly? Oh, don't worry, no one's replacing you. You'll still be here, just as a hated minority. And now if you as a white person are critical and see the ill effects of mass immigration, multiculturalism, and diversity, you are one step away from being labeled a WN, a terrorist and a dangerous separatist. Platforms like Facebook don't actually care about violence or terrorism, but about how they can use that violence. No other political group is hunted like nationalists, who oppose forced globalism and the destruction of sovereign, homogenous nations. I'm against it for Europeans, but also for every other group on the planet. It's crystal clear who the most threatening group is to the globalist world order. It's not the groups who actually commit the most violence, constant terrorism, not those who harm women and children, not even those who invade and bomb foreign nations who have killed millions. No, it's people like me who point it out. Those pushing a progressive, neoliberal, open borders world where no man can live outside of their control, physically, mentally, spiritually. They want you to surrender. They want to make it so difficult for you to speak out so that you give up and let them have their way. You can't let that happen for the future of the Western world and, by extension, the entire world. Support us. Let us be the voice for all those who aren't being heard, for those who are not free to speak. They want to make nationalism for white people a criminal offense. That should speak volumes to everyone, making clear what the end goal is. I never thought it would come to this in America in my lifetime, but here we are. Censorship, banning, blatant lies, outrageous propaganda, incredible double standards, and no political leaders are calling out vicious, hateful anti-whiteism. We are facing a monstrous system that wants us out of the picture. Their hatred for us is deep, and they have all the resources at their fingertips. Help keep us afloat by signing up for a membership at redicemembers.com. Donate, buy merch, share our content, re-upload, and get the word out. We're in this for the long run. Much love. Bye for now.